I walked away from fame. That night, the vineyard caught fire. He called it her home and chose me over everything. This is how we found our way back. They said every dream has a price. For me, the bill came wrapped in contracts, signed in threats, and stamped with the word worldly. I was just a girl with a voice, raised in a foster home. But the moment I chose faith over fame, the whole world seemed to turn on me. Eloan had grown up with nothing but Sabine and a dream that hummed between them like a second heartbeat. Two foster kids who found harmony in a system that had none. By 26, they clawed their way into studio sessions, small venue gigs, and finally a meeting with Thatcher, a label handler whose suits cost more than their combined rent. The stipend was decent, $1,500 a month to cover groceries, gas, the cramped apartment they shared in Nashville. Enough to feel like they'd made it, not enough to leave. Thatcher called it an average lifestyle arrangement, his pen tapping the clause that listed the label's $500,000 investment in production, marketing, and tour prep. "You're sitting on gold," Thatcher said one afternoon, sliding a lyric sheet across the glass table. "But you keep writing hymns for a church crowd. We need heat, heartbreak, something that moves bodies, not souls." Eloan read the first verse. It wasn't explicit, but it was hollow, full of the kind of longing that had nothing to anchor it. Sabine glanced at her, waiting. "This isn't us," Eloan said quietly. Thatcher's smile thinned. "Then make it you. Or find another label willing to lose $500,000 on purity rings and Sunday school." That night, backstage at a charity showcase, Eloan met Caius. He worked sound for the venue, had kind eyes and steady hands, and when she sang an old hymn as her closing number, he stayed to listen. Afterward, he walked her to her car and asked if she believed what she sang. "Every word," she said. "Good," he replied. "Don't stop." 3 months later, she was in Thatcher's office again. Same glass table, same lyric sheets, same pressure. "Sing what sells," Thatcher said. Eloan stood. "I won't sell what breaks me." She quit that afternoon, drained her savings account, $22,000, and handed Thatcher a check on the spot. Signed a repayment agreement for the remaining balance, $478,000, to be paid in monthly installments of $3,200 over 12 years. The contract was airtight, the stakes clear. She walked out with Sabine's hand in hers and Caius waiting by the curb. Caius's parents weren't easy. Marigold was a teacher who measured everything twice and trusted slowly. Osmond was a retired mechanic with a big laugh and bigger hands. The kind of man who fixed your car before you knew it was broken. He liked Eloan right away. Marigold took longer. "She's chasing ghosts," Marigold said one Sunday after church, folding dish towels with surgical precision, "and dragging my son with her." But Caius didn't waver. He drove Eloan to the post office every month to mail the check. He sat with her when the studio called, offering deals she couldn't take. He prayed with her when the weight got heavy. Then came the call. Highway 40, just outside Cookeville. A semi had crossed the median. Caius and Osmond were pronounced dead at the scene. The funeral was small. Marigold sat stone still in the front pew, and Eloan held her hand for 2 hours without speaking. Afterward, in the church parking lot, Thatcher appeared. Expensive shoes on gravel, sunglasses hiding whatever past for remorse. "Tragic," he said. "Really. But life goes on. Eloan, walk back now, and we'll call the debt settled." Keep running, and you'll lose loved ones one by one. Eloan felt the air leave her lungs. Marigold, standing 3 feet away, heard every word. A week later, the lawyer's letter arrived. The house in New York, the one Osmond had left Marigold, had been used as collateral on a loan Caius co-signed without telling anyone. The bank was foreclosing. All that remained was the old house in Tennessee, a 2-bedroom relic Osmond had inherited from his father and never sold. Marigold sat at the kitchen table, staring at the paperwork. Eloan knelt beside her. "I'll fix this. I'll work. Then let me own that word," Marigold interrupted, her voice breaking. "If I'm going to be your family, let me own it. We'll go to Tennessee. Together." They packed what fit in Marigold's sedan and drove south. The Tennessee house sat on 4 acres of overgrown grass and memories. The porch sagged. The roof leaked. But the sunrise over the hills was the first thing in months that didn't hurt to look at. Eloan found work at a vineyard 10 miles east, $14 an hour, picking grapes under a sky so wide it felt like grace. The owner, Eldrick, was a man of few words and fewer smiles. Mid-40s, silver threading his dark hair, hands calloused from work he didn't need to do. He owned the Hilltop Estate overlooking the Rose, a boutique operation that produced small batch wines for restaurants in Knoxville and Chattanooga. He paid on time, brought water to the pickers, never asked questions. Odessa, a picker with 20 ewes on the vines, nudged Eloan one Friday night. "Karaoke at the tavern. You sing, don't you?" Eloan hesitated, but Marigold was asleep by 8 most nights, and the house felt too quiet. She sang an old hymn, raw, unpolished, every word true. Someone recorded it. By Monday, the clip had 40,000 views. By Wednesday, it was 500,000. Eldrick found her in the brake shed that afternoon. "Good song," he said. "Thanks." He paused, then, passed a leaf called. "Said the church is doing a fundraiser. For you and Marigold." Eloan's throat tightened. "I didn't ask for." "I know." He handed her an envelope. "And this isn't charity. It's a bridge. There's a used car in town. 2015 Honda, 80,000 miles, runs clean. Title's in your name if you want it. No strings." She stared at him. "Consider it in advance," Eldrick said quietly. "On wages I know you'll earn." 3 weeks later, volunteers showed up at the old house. New shingles, fresh paint, a porch that didn't creak. Eldrick was there every morning, hammer in hand, directing the work like it mattered more than his own vines. Marigold watched from the kitchen window. "That man loves you. He barely knows me. He knows enough." One evening, Eldrick asked Eloan to visit the Hilltop Estate. She followed him through rooms filled with light and history, old family photographs, wine bottles labeled in script she couldn't read. Above the main door, carved into the lintel, were Greek letters, Omicron. Her home, Eldrick translated. "My grandfather carved it. Said the house would belong to the woman he married. My father kept the tradition. I've kept it too." He turned to her. "I'm not asking for an answer today, but I'm asking you to think about it. This house, this life, with me." He knelt. Eloan's pulse hammered. "Eldrick, there's a debt. A man who threatened me. Things I can't promise are behind me yet. Then we'll face them," he said simply. "Long engagement. Your terms. Your faith. Your music. Full transparency. I'm not asking you to be someone you're not. I'm asking you to be exactly who you are. Hey. She said yes. The viral clip opened doors. Small venues in Asheville, Bristol, Memphis. Churches that wanted the song sung live. Eloin split every dollar with Sabine, who'd moved to Tennessee and was writing again. Marigold softened. Eloin cooked dinners, ran errands, sat on the porch with her on the hard nights when grief sat too heavy to carry alone. Slowly, the word daughter stopped feeling like a risk. Eldrick was steady in a way Eloin had never known. He didn't demand her time. He created space for it. Legal consultations with his attorney. Quiet security checks. Discreet drivers when bookings took her out of town. He asked nothing in return. Then Sabine called. Thatcher knows where you are. He's been asking around. Be careful. Eloin didn't hide. She posted her location for the next gig. Let the bookings stay public. If Thatcher wanted to find her, she wouldn't make it easy, but she wouldn't live in fear either. 3 nights later, the vineyard caught fire. Eloin was at the old house when the sirens split the dark. She drove to the estate, smoke already thick in the air, flames chewing through the storage barn. Eldrick stewed with the fire chief, soot on his face, watching 2 years of harvest burn. She ran to him. Are you hurt? He shook his head, pulled her close. Just vines. We'll replant. But his hands were shaking. 2 nights later, Eloin came home to silence. The kind that hums wrong. Marigold's car was in the driveway. The lights were on, but the air felt tight. She texted Eldrick, help. Then she walked inside. Thatcher stood in the living room, a steel pipe in one hand. Marigold backed into the corner. You cost me everything, he said, his voice flat. The arson was just the start. Eloin's pulse roared. Let her go. Or what? He stepped forward. She grabbed the firewood stack by the door and swung. The impact cracked across his shoulder, and he staggered. Marigold bolted past him. Blue lights flooded the windows. Eldrick had already called the police. Thatcher was arrested for arson, attempted assault, and interstate harassment. Sabine's texts and the repayment contract established a pattern of coercion. The district attorney pushed for maximum charges. The vineyard was covered by insurance. Pastor Leaf organized a fundraiser that brought in $30,000. Volunteers replanted in the spring. A court-appointed receiver audited the disputed debt and reduced it to $120,000 after finding inflated line items and improper contract clauses. 6 months later, Eloin and Sabine performed at a small hall in Knoxville. The same hymn from the karaoke night. Eldrick stewed in the back, hands in his pockets. Marigold sat in the front row and squeezed Eloin's hand before she took the stage. The crowd gave them a standing ovation. Afterward, they drove back to the Hilltop estate. Flowers bloomed on the porch. Laughter rang through the kitchen. The vineyard was stronger than before. Eloin stood in the doorway, looking at the carved lintel. Omicron. Eldrick came up behind her. Still think about the offer. She turned, smiled. I'm home. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe and share it with someone who needs hope today. And in the comments, tell us, what was your favorite act of service moment in this story? We'd love to hear from you.